Yo, what's going on, guys? Today I want to talk about all of the Act bosses in Hero Siege, how their mechanics work, how to avoid them, and when you're able to pump the most amount of damage as possible, as well as when you should focus on avoiding mechanics without worrying about your damage. Now, if you're anything like me, the first and third Act bosses, specifically in normal mode, are the hardest bosses in the game, even harder than any of the Ubers. But don't worry, in this video we're going to break it all down so you can easily clear any boss and be fully prepared without having to do any guesswork on how to beat them. So let's just get right into it. The first boss is going to be Gurag. Now, in my opinion, he's easily one of the most overwhelming bosses for beginners, as you don't really have the gear for movement speed, damage reduction, resist, or HP yet, because you just haven't really played much of the game, which makes it just feel really overwhelming with the amount of stuff he throws at you. It gets a little easier in Nightmare, and really easy in Hell, as you can just tank most of it. But in normal mode specifically, it's really hard. So let's just get right into it. Before anything, let's talk about how to get to him. Now, the best way to do this is to have teleport. You're going to want to come to King's Garden. And you're going to find the Northern Post portal. It's going to be a little red portal on your map. It's not really that difficult to find. It's going to be on one side or the other, opposite of the blue portal. And you're going to navigate your way through there until you get to the boss room. Now that we're in the boss room, every boss in this game, Act bosses I mean, in this game, will have a instance-based spawn. So if you die on them, you then have to come back and you'll have to fight him all over again. Their HP doesn't save, they don't heal, nothing like that. Now, when you go in, it's going to spawn up. It's going to spawn two little pillars, you'll see as it spawns up here, that are going to be traveling around the room in horizontal or vertical directions. And you just avoid those, right? A third one spawned here because I'm on a higher difficulty. Now, I'm going to go back just a little bit here because these died really fast. But when he gets to about, I would say 70% HP, he's going to spawn these little guys down here and become completely invincible. You have to destroy these guys before they get to him and heal him, which is fairly easy. Just got to keep avoiding his little pillars here. And once they're gone, you can then do damage to him again. Now, he drops these avalanches. This is what I mean by a lot of overwhelming mechanics, is he's throwing out an Earthen Fury in a direction, but when Avalanche comes out, it drops boulders on your head. And you just slowly step out of them, or you can step fast too, it doesn't really matter. Just don't be underneath them. They will hurt you and they will stun you. And you just keep avoiding them. And then when he gets to about 50%, he's going to spawn up these little black orbs and these little blue lines. These blue lines you don't have to worry about. I don't know what they're supposed to be, but they don't really do anything. However, the black orbs will stun you in place and drop a boulder over your head, which you do normally have time to move out of. But again, if you have low movement speed, it's going to be very difficult, right? And the last thing that happens here is if you notice these pillars, another one spawned that isn't going horizontal or vertical, but diagonal. And with the avalanches still coming, the Earthen Fury is still coming, this can get very difficult to deal with. But you just keep avoiding and staying out of them. When he gets to 30% here, you'll see that these spawn up again, and I actually left one on accident down here, so I had to just avoid his mechanics for a moment and then go back and get it. But your focus here should always be avoiding the mechanics and then stepping close to do damage anytime they're down at the bottom. Now, below his 30%, really, really overwhelming. But I believe in you guys, you can do it. On to Uber Reaper here. You're going to find it in the Glacial Trail. And again, you're just going to find a red portal, which I'm pretty sure I find it quite quickly in this one. Yep, it's right here. That's why I don't want to fast forward. It's going to be called Chilling Cavern, and this you just navigate through this to find Reaper. And he is one of the easier bosses. The moment he spawns up, he's going to do a death coil right off rip, and that's just little skulls that are going to go outwards in multiple directions. And here they are. At about 60-70%, he's going to drop this scythe on the ground. And this thing's just going to aim at you. So as you're avoiding the skulls, don't stand too still, because every time it hits one side, it's going to come back at you and you have to move out of the way again. These soul eruptions are going to spawn doing the same thing as Death Coil, but they'll spawn underneath your current location. That, in my opinion, is what makes this boss quite easy, is everything spawns based around where you're at rather than just flinging around the map. And then these soul pillars will make him immune. You have to kill these. This is the hardest part of the boss. If you don't have the damage to kill the soul pillars, he'll just keep spawning them over and over again and just not take any damage, right? But I haven't really had much trouble with this. It's just death coils and soul eruptions, the scythe going around, and the pillar spawning, right? Real easy. You can even tank a lot of these skulls a lot of the time, like I just did here. Like, I'm doing all this on Inferno mode. I don't even think I'm capped resist here. And I have about 4,000 life. But Uber Reaper, nice, easy, smooth. And then we're on to Anubis. You're going to find him in the Pyramid 2. And just like before, you're going to navigate through the pyramid until you find the portal, and then the boss, right? He's going to spawn up meteor showers when you come in, and then a lightning wall. The lightning wall is the one-shot mechanic here. Meteor shower will kill you if you don't have enough damage reduction or anything, but for the most part, it's really easy to avoid and just keep stepping to the side. The way I like to do this boss is just doing circles around him until the wrath here, this big circle, pops up, which will absolutely annihilate you. But meteor shower, and then another lightning wall will come, right? Now, these lightning walls will always have a space on each side. You have to line up. If you try and teleport over top of these, from my experience, it just one-shots you anyway. It's like the teleport doesn't stop its damage at all. But it'll Wrath of Anubis, step out of that. Meteor shower, step out of. Now, this fight's a little bit longer because I actually died on him. Not died, but he died before I could show you all of the mechanics. But these sarcophaguses will spawn up. And this is really where you can get a lot of your damage, is when these are up. Because if you have any type of AoE, like explosion AoE that procs off of that, like I actually had to turn off my comet tree because my tiny fire rod will cause comets to come down, and that's what killed Anubis instantly the moment I killed these sarcophaguses, right? And that's why I had to re-record this. Anyways, once you get past all this, he's going to get quite low, and instead of spawning just one lightning wall at a time, he's going to start to spawn 4. And that's the overwhelming and really difficult part to deal with when you're in normal mode without movement speed. Because it just starts coming out and coming out and coming out. So you got to stand here and avoid it. It's already on the next one, and already on the next one, and already on the next one. Like, it's really hard if you don't have movement speed or a teleport to work with. Now, there's one more thing I wanted to mention here. When you do these lightning walls, no matter where you stand in the room, you'll always be able to see them. So if you look at what I do a little bit earlier here, is I go to the bottom corner just to showcase this, where I guess I didn't do it here. But basically, no matter how far away you are, like right here, you can see the edges on the edges of your screen. It'll always be there so you can know where to stand. So you don't really have to worry about being within sight range. That said, you can't go out of the room. It will just teleport you back in, the lightning walls will come by, and they will kill you. But now that we're done with the hardest bosses, because in my opinion, Anubis, when you're on normal, is just the hardest thing ever, we're going to move on to Damien, which you're going to come to the Devil's Breach, and you're going to find the portal. Apologies for the recording here. I didn't realize, I don't know why it's doing that, but not a huge deal. You're going to find the Lair of Corruption in Devil's Breach, and that's going to have Uber Damien. Now, this is where, in my opinion, all the bosses start to get quite easy. You might struggle a little bit here and there if you don't know what you're doing, but for the most part, they just gets easier and easier until you hit Odin, which you don't even have to do Odin. So Damien's going to spawn up. He's going to do this thing called Unleashed Agony. And you don't want to be above him when it does it, because these will ricochet off that wall. So I like to be to the left side or the right side and then walk down below. These pools of agony, it'll spawn 3 of them, and then spawn 3 more, and then he's going to cast an Unleashed Agony, so just step out of them and to one side so that you can get out of the way. And then Mirror of Darkness is just some mobs. It's best to kill them, because if he does do a Blood Surge, which we'll see when he gets lower, and there's mobs up, each of the mobs will also Blood Surge, and it'll all overlap. But aside from that, like, this is all the mechanics, and the only real one-shot mechanic is that Blood Surge we'll see when he's low HP here, like right here. Bam, he shoots a Blood Surge, I step out of it. That can one-shot you, especially, again, if there's multiple monsters up. And just like that, Damien down. Now, your next boss is going to be the Karp King in the Temple of Zamjo. And you're going to go through here and look for the Temple of Fishes and navigate through there to find the boss. Very simple, straightforward. And this boss, even easier than Damien in my opinion, because you can manipulate his Zen pools. So when he hits Balls of Doom, it's going to spawn in your location. You just move out the way. The Zen pools will be thrown at your location. Notice that there's some space between the boss and where I can stand, right? And then, of course, you have to avoid the Mega Beam. Everything comes out very quick. But the Mega Beam is always going to do the same thing. It's going to come... It has two outcomes. It's always going to be vertical, but it's either going to go clockwise or counterclockwise. So you just stand in a location to the left or right side of the boss and just slowly move out of the way. And right here, notice these Zen pools are going to land further away than the other ones. That's because I was standing further away when I did it. Walk around this, Mega Beam, and then I step away for the Zen pool, step back in. This is how I stay close for as long as possible, is making his Zen pools get thrown out as far away as I can. Because if I'm standing underneath the boss when this happens, they will spawn right under the boss, and then I can't really get close to do my damage because most of my damage is either in this aura or my Armageddon, which I have to be kind of close to cast. And then Fire Nova doesn't really do much here because all these pillars, right? But now onto the easiest boss, which in my opinion doesn't make any sense. This is actually kind of crazy that Satan is the easiest boss. So you're going to come to the depths of hell, navigate through here to find the portal. I actually don't remember what it's called, so I'll see here in a sec. Yeah, the Hollowing Sanctuary. And you'll just navigate through that to get to Satan, right? I would suggest clearing these mobs down here. Every now and again, these mobs will wander up and come up to where the boss is, even though you can't go down there where they're at. But again, this is the easiest boss. He only has a couple of mechanics. Very, very easy to avoid. He's going to spawn up. He's going to use a Lava Storm, which is just a linear... I actually forgot about his hands. He's going to have two hands here. They shoot out like dolls. They just ended up dying so fast in mine here. I didn't realize it. But you just kill those before you kill Satan. That way you can just avoid the damage. They're going to try to slam down on you. It's really easy to avoid. You can usually tank the little doll beads. If you can't, get some more arcane res. You shouldn't really be looking to avoid those all that much. But he's going to spawn minions on the left and right side. You don't really have to kill these, but I do anyway, just because my aura just does damage while I'm hitting the boss. And then Wall of Agony has a little spot to run through. But you have to be very careful, because I intentionally did this to show you. He will Lava Storm right in that hole if you time it poorly. And then you're just kind of screwed. You can tank the Lava Storm. I would suggest walking through that rather than the wall. But it's just these three mechanics over and over. The Lava Storm throws it at you, spawns the minions, and then he has the wall. Easy peasy. And now on to Mevius. This is the one that you guys need to know the most about, because it's the one you'll be doing the most. You're going to come to the subconscious mind, and my recording is doing this again for some reason. That's so weird. Like, it doesn't take internet to record, right? Like, I'll have to figure that out later. But anyways, you're going to find the Void. And in the Void, at the very end, is the Verge of Insanity, which is where Mevius will be. Now, Mevius has a couple parts. I believe on Inferno mode specifically, it didn't have the first mechanic. I'm not sure why. I didn't want to re-record over something very simple like that, though. But basically, okay, they died instantly. Okay, so he shoots out 4 chains. One will land in each corner, and you can't do damage to him until they die. And I do apologize for not getting this, as they just instantly died. But I was trying to do a lot of damage to this guy, as he doesn't have a lot of mechanics, and just doing more damage is just better. But he spawns these nightmare dimensions. Now, you'll only see 1 or 2 depending on your difficulty. It spawns 3 on this difficulty. And this is his strongest ability. As long as you avoid this, you'll pretty much never die. Because it'll force you into hit recovery if you get hit, almost guaranteed, and then you'll just get constantly berated by the rest of them, right? And that's just going to kill you almost guaranteed, right? Now, there is a way to manipulate those, and I'm going to show you here soon, because he spawns these ads. You don't have to kill these. They just die because my aura's there. But if you notice, I keep bringing these nightmare dimensions to the corner. I didn't quite get into the corner like I like, but it makes them a lot easier to avoid because they're going to spawn going downward and follow you around the room, and you have plenty of space to get out of the way, right? And then when the next nightmare dimension comes, I'm in the corner, right? I walk through this wall of agony. There's always a little space you can walk through. I was only showcasing that, but normally you can just, easy tip here, ignore the wall of agony. If you have any type of healing at all, a flask, like anything, you can just tank it and heal up. Like, it does so little damage, you can tank it every time. And I actually end up doing it here just to show you guys. But this is what I mean by the corner. See how it spawned behind the wall? And look how much space I have to work with to get out of the way, right? It barely even touches me. So I come to the corner again. Well, it's going to phase here. And it's going to spawn in this wall. And immediately spawn nightmare dimensions. I didn't place these properly, so it was kind of a... I was a little scared on getting out of the way. I thought I was going to die, actually. But right here, he's going to spawn another one. And I can walk through this little gap. But I don't need to worry about that. I just need to get to this corner before this cast bar is done. And right here, I walk through the wall again. Watch how little damage it does. It just doesn't do a whole lot. If you have really low life, yeah, it's going to hurt. And I have no healing here. So it's like, I'm not even worried yet. I'm just going to keep walking through him, and now he's dead. Now, one little thing to note is that this mysterious key spawns, and I'll make another video. This is for your Soulforged ring. If you want any information on this, it is pretty available on the Hero Siege Helper that I'll have linked down in the description. However, you just take this quest. It gives you a key to find a keyhole. You're going to go to the mining village. I can't ever pronounce it. You guys should know what I'm talking about, but there's a door at the top of it. You'll go in there, and that'll be where you start your Soulforge quest, right? Now, on to what I consider the bonus content, is Odin. Now, unlike the other bosses, you kind of have to progress the stories here. You can't just have somebody be like, oh, here's a waypoint. Now, you could, if they have Helheim, and you can go in there, but they got rid of the boat thing. That really was the pain in the butt that nobody wanted to do here. But you'll just progress through the zones, do all the storylines, and you'll unlock Helheim, right? I would do this in Hell 1, or even normal mode. It doesn't really matter. You can unlock it all anyway. But you'll come to Helheim. And I actually don't remember the name of this one either, so give me just a sec till we find it. Don't want to fast forward. The Ruins of Helheim. Okay, that's what you're going to find. You're going to navigate through there. And right before this bridge is where Odin will spawn. Now, I ended up dying to this boss like an idiot and had to record a second time on this. And I ended up discovering a funny bug in the process. When I came back to do it the second time after dying, it actually spawned 2 of them. I don't know what caused that, but just be mindful that if you're coming back, I would suggest probably resetting, because what it did is he was trying to phase, so when he comes up in the back, at the very, very back, you know, it spawned him like normal, but when I walked across the bridge, it spawned the first one, the first phase. So I was like fighting them both at the same time, and there was just no way I was going to deal with that, right? Now, you'll see what I died to here, as I do want to show it. Now, if you get hit by the axes, it knocks you up just like I got knocked up, which can get you killed because this lightning thing would have been right on top of me had I not moved. So if I got hit again, I probably would have got destroyed by it, right? And then he's going to shadow orb. This little blue orb here is going to follow you around for a certain amount of time. You just have to kite it out for a certain amount of time and try not to let it get placed near the boss, so go away from the boss. And it's going to put a little pool on the ground that you have to stay out of because it does damage. And then every so often he'll go into Stormbreak. He's completely immune here. And this is what I mean by I died, is I for some reason thought it was like Gabriel, first just instinct, and I went and hid behind the pillar. As you see, this blue line came out in my direction, and I thought, oh, I'm behind the pillar, I'm safe. And I died. And I don't think there's any really tanking that, as it was 27,000 damage. Like, yeah, you could get 50k HP, but that is a lot of damage, right? So, I came back and had to fight him again. Not a big deal. He does the lightning storm. You stay out of it. You can stay in close to avoid the axes or stay far away. Watch for the blue line on the storm break. You see him here. It goes down and to the left. And you can just stay out of him. It is a one-shot mechanic, or supposed to be. And we just keep pumping him down. The shadow orb coming to me. It's on the ground. Just stay out of it. Storm break again. It's very simple and straightforward. Just a lot of damage comes out when you do get hit, right? And after you phase him, he actually gets even easier. I don't know why his last phase is so easy, but it's just don't stand in the circles and you won't die. Now, it takes a sec here. He's going to spawn up at the top, kind of like Satan does. You have to break all 6 of these pillars while avoiding these meteors, and that'll bring him to the ground. Now, I was able to just kill him here in just like almost one phase, right? It puts him right into his final phase where he spawns a skeleton on each side. You kill these skeletons, which does damage to him, and then you finish him. And just like that, you have conquered every single boss in the game. And aside from Mevius, you don't really have to do the other bosses a whole lot. It's just, in normal mode, if somebody's rushing you, have them kill all the bosses all the way up to Mevius. And then in nightmare mode, you would have all of the bosses if you weren't being rushed. However, if someone's rushing you, you can just kill Mevius. And then you would do all the bosses in Hell 1. And then you would just do Mevius in Hell 3. And that unlocks Hell 5. Now, the funny thing about Hell 5, to unlock Satanic Zones, you have to kill Mevius. However, you don't have to do it on Hell 5 for some reason. You can just do it on Hell 4. Which, if you're lacking a bit of damage or want it to, you know, not be so hard, you would just do it on Hell 4. But anyways, that's going to wrap up this video. This is all of the Act bosses. If there's anything I missed or maybe overlooked, because, you know, I'm not an almighty being that knows everything. This is just from me experimenting and checking things out, and I just wanted information out there for things that other people aren't making information for. So I appreciate you guys. Be sure to like, subscribe, all that good stuff. I got a Twitch channel. As soon as my internet comes back, I'll be streaming and making more videos. Appreciate y'all. Catch you on the next one.